Hi, everyone, and thank you for coming to Story Time. You know, every Friday we have Story Time, and every Friday I have decided to bring in somebody that is amazing to me. I cherish these women, they all are different, and it's just a fun thing. When I was a little girl, I loved listening to stories. You know, you tuck yourself into bed, and then your mom would read to you. But I think we still have that inside. We still want that princess story, you know, the Cinderella story that you started, there's a little struggle, and then we made it big. And I think that's the whole point today. The point is that I have a Cinderella, a true princess in Mary Kay right here. And her name is Chatney Gelfius. And I'm not going to tell you a ton about her because I'm going to let you tell herself her story because I think that's more powerful. But Shani and I have been friends for like 10, 12 years, and I have seen her through the whole Mary Kay career, which is great because we've been growing together. And I just value Chatney. She doesn't live anywhere near me, and she's going to tell you all about her and her wonderful children. So, Chatney, tell us a little bit about where you're from, how many children, if you're married, all of that.
Okay, so I am from a town called Hartsville, Indiana, and I'm married to a farmer. His name is Justin. When I married him, he was an engineer. So I always say I got trick bagged into being a farmer's wife, but because it's a very different schedule than when he was an engineer. But I have 4 kids, and Justin and I live on 18 acres, but we live a mile from the homestead where all of our farm is. Everyone in Indiana farms corn and beans and wheat, so we do all of that. And we also farm pigs, so we are the people that raise bacon, and we have 7,000 pigs. So that keeps us busy. So that's what we're involved in outside of Mary Kay. I have 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl. Crew, Ledger, and Grain are my little boys. And then Charleston is my little girl. And they are 15, 14, 12, and 8. There you go.
The whole range. You have the teenagers and then you have the little ones.
I know. I have said this week twice, I've said every age of my kids is like my favorite except 15. I could skip 15. Yeah, if we could skip 15, or if 16 is a continuation of 15, if we could just skip these couple of years, that'd be great. And just skip right along to, you know, the respectful child.
That's cool. So you said got tricked back to being a farmer. So your dad was a farmer?
No, my in-laws are farmers. I just never knew that's actually what my husband was going to do. And so when we got married, he went to Purdue University to graduate in MET. So he worked for a large company called Cummins Engine Company that makes diesel engines for semi-trucks. And so that's what I thought he was going to always do, is have this like 8 to 5 job working at Cummins Engine Company. And then his dad started talking about retiring. And so Justin and I's conversation was, if I could ever make 6 figures with Mary Kay, then he could retire from Cummins and join his family on the farm. And so the next year I did. So the next year I owned a salon. I worked for Redken. I owned a salon. And so I did salon and Mary Kay. I've been doing Mary Kay for 22 years. I joined when I was 19. And so I did, you know, I've done Mary Kay in every season. So I joined Mary Kay as a sophomore in college, you know, not married and living at home with my mom and dad, and then running Mary Kay from my bedroom. And then I went to beauty school as my backup plan to elementary ed. That was what I went to college for. And then I worked in a salon, then I owned a salon, and I worked for Redken and traveled and educated with them. And then I just had all those irons in the fire, but I like having a lot. I just like having a lot of irons in the fire. I like having options. I always like feeling like you could, you know, always make money at this, or this. I like having a lot of extra spending money. So I just did all those things prior to us having kids. And so we started having that conversation. And so I sold my salon and just started doing Mary Kay full time. And I guess it was 2 years after that I had made 6 figures at Mary Kay, and he got to retire from Cummins at, you know, 28. and
Wow, Justin was really young.
yeah.
Oh, wow. So he was a mechanical engineer.
Yes,
Mm-hmm. And he went to a very good school.
he did.
But he also had an entrepreneur life growing up, so he didn't want to work for somebody else.
Right. So we both grew up in entrepreneurial houses. Well, my dad worked for the same company, but as a mechanic. Very, blue collar. And so growing up, we lived in, we were very middle class. My mom had a salon called Jeannie's Country Charm and did perms and roller sets on blue haired people. So anyway,
it sounds like the Magnolia movie, like the Steel Magnolia movie.
It was totally like Steel Magnolia's type of beauty salon. So I grew up with a salon in our house, but I grew up with a mom that, put us on the school bus and got us off the school bus and, was at all of our games. And so I always knew I would do something where I worked for myself.
And you have 4 kids, so you have to be at all their games.
Huh?
So you have 4 kids, so you have to be at all their games. It's
I
like
know.
a full schedule.
Yes. So I have 2 that are very athletic. I have one that actually started his own business. So my 15-year-old started their own business. So they have a shoe reselling business. So I didn't know, used sneakers were a big thing, but they are.
They're collectible.
They are. So, I mean, who knew that a boy could sell a pair of sneakers he'd worn 10 times for 10 times more than he paid for it? But they can. So we go to shoe events, and so he has a business. So he really is busy running a business, and he doesn't really care about sports. And then I have 2 that are super involved in sports, and then an 8-year-old that we don't really have time to put in sports right now. So he'll learn how to do sports later.
That is cool. So you obviously started Mary Kay when you were a sophomore in college, which I think is an amazing feat because you were studying to be a teacher. You had your hands full, but why Mary Kay?
Well, I'd actually never tried the product, so that's totally the exception to the rule. I had, in high school, someone gave all the cheerleaders on the cheer squad a facial, but that was a person that was a lot older, and, I just remember she gave me green eyeliner, and like, who wears green eyeliner? So I was like, oh, and so that was my Mary Kay impression. In my mind, it was my grandma's makeup. The woman who taught the class was like, more that age. And so I just never would have thought, I would have never thought about selling anything. I would have never really thought about wearing Mary Kay. I was a pimply faced 19-year-old with horrible acne. I was on Accutane and just struggled with my skin a lot. My mom's 72 and she still has issues every now and then. So we just don't come from genes of people who have really great skin. So one, I wouldn't have sold skincare because who was going to buy skincare from a pimply faced 19-year-old kid? So that would be thing number one. I gave tours of my college campus to get a class paid for every semester. And on one of those tours was my recruiter. And so I gave Sheila a tour of the campus with her daughter and we hit it off. And she said, "You would be great at doing what I do." And I said, "What do you do?" And she said she was a beauty consultant with Mary Kay. And I really thought like, oh, bless your heart. I mean, like
Bless your heart.
I am going to college, so I don't have to sell anything. I mean, I'm giving you a tour of the campus, so your daughter doesn't have to be a salesman. I mean, like, so in my head, like, people sold stuff that didn't have an education to do something else, which is interesting because I have a bachelor's degree. I have a salon, I still have my beauty license. I have, several other options, but Mary Kay is what I choose to do. So I just didn't know what I didn't know. And she thought I was great with people. She asked if she could send me information on it. And I was like, I just would never do that. I said that. I would never do that. And she said, well, could I send you some information anyway? And so she did. I said, sure. I mean, she seemed like she really didn't want to take no for an answer. So I said, sure, she could send it to me, but I really wasn't interested. So I did not even look. I didn't even open the packet. She sent me this big packet, and it had an audio cassette in it. So I could feel that she had sent me an audio cassette, and I just didn't have time to listen to that. And so I didn't open the packet. I didn't look at the samples. I didn't do any of that for 6 months. So for 6 months, that sat on my dresser in my bedroom. And then 6 months later, I was going to a friend's funeral, and I needed something to get my mind off going to a funeral, something to listen to. And I remembered there was an audio cassette in that packet. So that's the day that God wanted me to listen to it. I think if I'd listened to it the day before, the day after, I just don't think I would probably have been in Mary Kay, but your mindset is so different on the way to a friend's funeral. So I just listened to Linda Tupin talk about how we are where we are in life by the choices we make. I was thinking about the funeral we were going to, and it just had me really deep in thought. My mom's the youngest of 12 kids raised on a dairy farm. So my mom was like, oh, I love this story about milking the cows, and that's so true. And my mom said, I think you'd be great at this. And I was like, really? And so I dumped out the eyeshadows for the first time. I kind of tried the product. And then I called Sheila the next day and said, hey, do you remember me? My name's Chatney. And she said, I was just getting ready to call you. So, you know, sometimes we give people information and they're just now listening to it. So we don't need to be scared that we can't follow up with them, you know? And she invited me to a Mary Kay meeting. So why Mary Kay? All I remember that night, maybe because of the age I was at the time, but the overwhelming feeling was a genuineness that I had never experienced in a group of women. So that could be because I was going to cosmetology school, and that doesn't necessarily have the best reputation for not being a catty situation. So I just was surrounded at the time. I was a waitress. I went to cosmetology school. I was a sophomore in college, and I just was surrounded by a lot of kind of catty, say one thing to your face, be a different version of themselves when they walk away, say something nice to you, but then you find out later that they said this. So that was kind of my woman experience, and I really didn't have any desire to let's see.
There you go.
Sorry. Okay. I didn't really have any desire to work with women. I just thought women were kind of backstabby, and those were just so to enter a group of women where everyone was so different and had plenty of reason to not really get along with each other because of all their differences, different ages, different ethnicities, different careers. You know, there was like people who had never worked a job, people who had like probably a 6-figure income. And so when I went to that Mary Kay meeting, first of all, it was at a restaurant called Dutch Pride, which was this little Dutch restaurant. Our little waitresses wore wooden shoes. And I remember thinking, like, in my mind when I went there, like, this was going to be like this really amazing business meeting. And instead we're like in the back of this little restaurant, and all these women were laughing and amazing. And so I do remember them doing a lineup of how much money we could make. I do remember them showing us product. Yeah. But I joined Mary Kay because of how the women made me feel. Because when they hugged me and said, it was so great meeting you, we can't wait to see you next week, I just felt this sincerity among a group of people that I had never experienced really in 19 years of being alive. Just this feeling that they all really truly respected each other, liked each other. And I would have joined Mary Kay, even if they could have said up front, I don't know that you'll make any money at this. And I would have joined and paid $100 to be part of the group of women that made me feel like when I walked out of that room, that what they said when I was in their face and what they said when I was out of their space was the exact same thing. So I would have joined based on that alone. And that feeling hasn't changed in 22 years. I've never felt like an insecurity leaving a Mary Kay space. I've always felt confident that those people are who they say they are. And that hasn't changed in 22 years. It hasn't changed no matter where I travel. It hasn't. Those are just who Mary Kay people are. And I'm sure there's a Mary Kay person that is not that way somewhere that exists, but I don't know who they are. And so the last thing my dad said before I left was, whatever you do not sign your name to anything and don't hand anybody any money. And I came home with a Mary Kay pin on, and I just said, it was my $100. Like, you can't be mad at me. It was my $100. And that's how I got started, based on a feeling.
That's awesome. I never heard the whole story, but I think it's wonderful. You were 19 years old and you look at you now. But quick question. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're very accomplished in Mary Kay, and we all know that. But what is one of those accomplishments that you're most proud of or that you would love to share?
That's a great question. Honestly, I know probably a normal answer would be, trips that we've earned or money that we've made. I've been a six-figure income earner since, for 14 years. We've been on 5 top sales director trips. I've driven a free Cadillac since I was 23 years old. So those are all like really awesome things. I am proud of, some of those things were very big leaps. So a huge increase, like, we did go from like not doing anything with Mary Kay to earning a Cadillac 6 months later, to making no money in Mary Kay to making like a $14,000 paycheck and selling tons of products. So I do always appreciate that you can do as much with Mary Kay in as little of time as you want. Like momentum takes as long as you've got. So probably my great accomplishments, Destination Red Cruise that the company offered, I earned that in a month instead of taking 6 months. I was one of the top 6 people to earn it. So I do always like just kind of seeing what I can do in a short amount of time. That kind of drives me to kind of see what's possible. So I think what I'm proudest of is prior to Mary Kay, I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. A consultant introduced me to Jesus Christ after a sales meeting one night. And so prior to Mary Kay, everything was about, I wonder what I'm capable of. And it was all about what I could do within my own power. And, within your own power, you're only capable of so much. So I think I just limited myself. But when you add Jesus to it, and it's like Chatney plus God equals this, then you do stuff like that no one's seen done before. And so, Mary Kay is this really awesome vehicle. But through Mary Kay, I just realized that I can only do so much myself. And it's kind of fun. It's just kind of fun to see what's possible. It's kind of fun to see what exists. It's kind of fun to see what you're capable of. So all of the times that I kind of shocked myself at what was possible have probably been my proudest moments, because I didn't quit. Even if it looked impossible, I didn't stop. Even if the numbers didn't make sense on paper, I just kept going towards whatever I thought was possible, and let's just see what happens. So that's given a ton of personal growth. And I think personal growth, I would give back all of the, I have loved the income that's come from Mary Kay, but, I would trade the income and the diamond rings and the cars for just the version of Chatney Gelfius I've become in the process of earning all that stuff, because it's just stuff. But, I'm a better wife. I'm a better mom. I'm a better business owner. I'm just, you can take all that stuff away, but I have become this version of myself that I wouldn't have recognized, that I couldn't have become behind a salon chair, that I couldn't have become if I had not done Mary Kay. I just wouldn't be this version of myself. So that's the stuff that I think makes me tick. That's the stuff that I'm most appreciative for, is just the version of yourself you become in the process of chasing what you thought was just stuff.
Okay, that's an awesome answer. I really love that answer. Now, we're going to be, your video is going to be on a customer page too.
Okay.
And I always love to empower women, even if they are not going to join the team, even if Mary Kay is not the thing that they see themselves doing. What can they learn from you? What can you teach them?
That you are capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for. That I believe, this is going to maybe land in the hands of a person that doesn't have the same faith that I do, or doesn't know who Jesus is, or, so I know I'm taking a chance of saying, hey, this is what's possible. But I believe that we are all born with different gifts. And I believe that Mary Kay has helped me figure out what my gifts are, because I don't know that there's anything else in the world that really like draws your attention to what you're good at or says you're brilliant at this. Like I heard Jamie Taylor, a person in Mary Kay, once quoted this Albert Einstein quote that said, if you spend your life trying to teach a fish to climb a tree, a fish will spend its whole life thinking it's stupid. I think the world tries to put, you know, people in a box. Like, you know, this is what you could do. This is what I'm good at. I think people try to put themselves in a box of like, I should do this. I could do this. So anytime you find yourself thinking, I should, I could, I would say go the opposite direction of that, you know, because shoulda, coulda, woulda just isn't a place where you can really untuck. You know, I talked to my unit yesterday about the word untuck and about how when you're in a fetal position and you're tucked, how does that feel to stay there? How does it feel to tuck tail? How does it feel, even if you physically just right now, like lay down on your floor, as crazy as that sounds, and tuck yourself in this fetal position? How does that feel? Well, it feels like something might attack you. It feels like, you know, something might hurt me. Or, you know, if you live in this tucked position of, I don't want to say this because it might offend someone, or I don't want to go here because I might get hurt. Like, you could live your whole life tucked. And if you physically lay down on your floor and tuck, and then you choose to untuck, and you choose to, like, you know, have your arms go out and stretch out as far as you can stretch, just the feeling of like untucking yourself feels more powerful. And I would just encourage you to quit tucking, like to live untucked. You don't have to join Mary Kay to live untucked, you know? I don't know that I would have been able to verbalize that to people like I did just now without Mary Kay. So I think everyone would be better being in Mary Kay, even if just to hang out. I mean, I literally have a girl coming after this call that yesterday, you know, we saw each other in town and she was like, oh my gosh, you're such a burst of energy. I just would love to be in your space. I'm like, well, let's do coffee tomorrow. And she sends me a text that says, you're not going to try to talk me into doing Mary Kay, are you? And I said, of course I am. Of course I am. Because your life, in the little that I know about it, would benefit so much from having Mary Kay in it. Your life, you need some positive girlfriends. You need to remember who God made you to be. And I don't know outside of Mary Kay what's going to make you do that. So even if you were in my unit for a really short window, you know, you love our products. Like I said, I will let you buy product full price off me, and I will let you be my customer for as long as you want. But I wouldn't be doing my job. I wouldn't be living out my calling if you come be in my space and I don't share with you that I think there's something more for your life and that I think I could help get you closer to it, even if you were walking with me for a short distance. And so she went from that. I said, I'll let you tell me no, but it will come up in the conversation. And she said, I'll see you at 10:30, and I look forward to talking with you about it. I mean, like, we went from, you're not going to talk me into this, are you? To like, of course it's going to come up, because I just don't know, I mean, why you would say no. And I mean, most people's lives is not so rockin' awesome that there's not like a window that Mary Kay could like fit in, that, you know, at least you get your products at an amazing deal, and you get to be around positive people, and what would happen? What if you could be great? You know, like, I think the reason I said yes, though my dad asked me to say no, and I really respect my dad, so that was harder for me than I say, is because I sat there thinking, what if I don't do this and I could have been great? You know, that was much scarier for me than thinking about what if I sign up for the company and I don't do anything with it. I mean, surely to goodness, I'll do something. I'll learn something. And anything we can learn about ourselves even, you know, who cares if we teach you anything about makeup or not? Anything you can learn about you that makes you a better version, a closer version to what you were made for, you know, then I say yes to that. And if it's not Mary Kay, what is it? What is it that you could say yes to that makes you a better version of yourself? Because I think you owe it to yourself I think you owe it to your kids. I think you owe it to your husband to become a closer version of what you were called to be than where we're at right now.
Awesome. 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 Oh my God, you gave them so much to learn. And my last question, which is really simple. What is your number one product that you love?
Oh, by all means, it would be the toning lotion. So we have toning lotion. I've used toning lotion on one of my arms, not the other arm, my whole life. Okay, I'll show you my arms. Ready?
Ready.
Okay, so I've always
Let me put you on full view so they can see the difference. Hold on. Oh, did I mute you by mistake? Hold on. In video. Are you muted? Hold on. You're muted. We gotta unmute you, Chatney. You need to unmute yourself.
I did unmute myself.
Okay, go. Now it's just there, right there.
So these are my arms, and I have always used toning lotion, obviously, on this arm, and here's this arm. So like, you know.
Oh my God.
Right? So I have always used toning lotion on this side. My arms once upon a time were even. I actually started on this side because I'm right-handed. I had more muscle on my right side. I play softball. I throw with my right arm. And so I started with my left arm, hoping it would like be as good as my right arm. And now it's like way surpassed. So I would totally do toning lotion because like the difference is obviously something you can see. And if you put it on your legs after you shave, they always look like you just put lotion on. You don't ever have this look that you have dry legs again. So even if you don't have cellulite, you should just use it because it's like the greatest moisture lotion ever. So there you go, toning lotion.
I love it. Well, Sandy, I know that you have an appointment, so we're going to say thank you for the time you spent with us and for everything that we learned, because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about your story, but I also learned what if you don't? What if you don't? It's not what if and I fail, but what if you do it and you succeed?
Right.
So I so appreciate you, girl. I love you. Thank you so much for sharing with my friends.
Thank you, Paulina. Thank you. I love you, and you do so much for so many. And so thank you for trusting me with your people.
Thank you. I'm going to just record it.
Bye.